Yep. Actually, I had a question, but I want to just kind of support what Bob was saying.
He's one of my students.
Yeah. He's paying me to say this. No, any politician or head of industry can tell you that you don't get something for nothing. But unfortunately, our economy has been working in such a way that we get something for nothing from the environment. We don't pay for it. We don't take it into account. And that's what our economy is built on. It's false, totally false. And now we're having to pay the debts. But my question was to Generation Zero, basically. I saw an interview with John Key a few months ago on a Hard Talk on BBC. And when he, oh, you've seen it. When he was approached several times about Clean Green New Zealand image and the misnomer, he continuously said, well, we don't support that point of view. He would not hear anything that had to do with environment. The man is totally thick. He's a neoclassical economist. He didn't give a rat's ass. Do you have his ear? Can you get his ear? How do we get his ear? What do we do? That's the point. How do we take somebody who was an investment banker, who was called the smiling assassin, who doesn't give a rat's ass about anything but money, and turn him around to believing in this, where he says on that interview, you know, I'm with you there.
Don't vote for him.
Yeah, vote against him after the how.
I think that there's a couple of threads to that question which probably come through. The first is the obvious one, which is just vote, because no matter who you are, you're accountable to voting. And I think we've seen that in some of the big issues where it's become politically unacceptable to take stances on stuff, and so politicians do stuff, even though I don't particularly agree with it. National's not a party which has in the past been big on representing Māori issues, and yet when it was shamed on its stance on that, you've seen John Key being a lot more progressive in that area, well, arguably more progressive. But the point is that the only way in which they sit in office is because people choose to vote for them. So the simple answer is don't vote for him or find a way to make him accountable. The longer answer is whether, unless you plan on shooting 50% of society, then possibly 80% of society, then there are a lot of people in John Key's position, and that's why you have to go out and talk to people and engage with people on the issue, because there are good reasons not to embrace the issue. Like, the economy gives us a lot of really useful things, like Skype calls with Jeanette Fitzsimons or technological development. So that's a hard thing to realise that there are flaws with that, and that's a long process. There's no easy answer. What you have to do is talk to people, raise the issues, and make sure you vote so that people feel accountable. Next question. Maybe come down here. Oh, yeah, go up there. Where's Sam? Oh.
Could I just say, Ashton and Bob, there are two views here. One says there's potential for renewables, but I think the cost is much less. Now, those. How do we resolve this problem, which I think we see now that energy is the same, changing consumption? In this room, we see the transport of the future, the skateboard. I'm thinking of young people here. On campus here in Dunedin, you should be fighting for the right to use those safely on the road. Like kids better use the cycles. At the moment in New Zealand, we're putting billions into traffic. That's what we need to fight for. How many people live in a coal flat? Oh, okay. Czechoslovakia came from a communist basket case to the best extent houses in Europe. You, as young people here, can fight in this election to make sure all the houses in Dunedin are warm, and that will cost very little. Those are the changes in consumption that make us better off and don't cost anything. There's a whole list. I put it in your hands now. You're the ones who should be pushing that. This election is the most important. The lignite stands out. What are you going to do? What are you going to lead? What are you going to propose in the next 12 months?
That's awesome. I almost just want to say I agree with all of that. Thank you for the inspiration. I think particularly around, you can only tackle, I should talk into the mic because we're recording this, sorry. You can only tackle the issues which are big at the election. You have to choose particular issues because politicians have narrow minds and they'll quickly move on to things. So I think that for this election, the focus needs to be climate change and needs to be getting emissions down. I think two particular focuses from that. One is stopping lignite mining in Southland, and a second, I think, is to do with transport infrastructure and trying to change the government away from a transport plan which is solely governed towards giving billions of dollars to roads. So I think that those two in particular are important. Generation Zero has a team of 7 or 8 people working on developing detailed policy asks, so the longer answer is more on that in a month or two.
Firstly, in terms of transport, we have Stefan Fairweather here. He led a campaign to convince the Dunedin Council, basically, to have a look at the current system and to maybe include possible suggestions that Stefan wrote up and members of MSGA. So we are working on that issue as well. And it is a question of, especially in our group, we are studying medicine, and so we have obligations to that. And we also have the fact that the world may end in 20 years. So it's certainly about negotiating particular agendas within groups, but we are working on a local level as well. The issue about switching to renewables and making it cheap and basically making it cheaper, well, most eminent scientists and activists, such as James Hansen, are saying you need to make it more expensive to use non-renewables. And I mean, Australia, as Louis said, has gone a step to do that, albeit a very small tax. I think it's only $24 per tonne, which, I mean, in light of billions of dollars investment by Rio Tinto, it's almost insignificant. But the companies certainly need to be made to pay for, as this gentleman here said, the cost to the environment. And that money, importantly, though, has to go back to the community or to the public. And so the issue is about how do you actually ensure that the government is receiving that tax and just using it to go back into the public. Because we know that certain households will not be able to afford across-the-board taxes. But they may be able to afford it if it is ensured that it does go to the community, at least 100% of it. Does that answer the question?